Here's something that happened to me last night. I was lying in bed, half awake, thumbing through my phone, and I stopped on a post. Someone I know had been promoted, good news. So I went to tap, congratulations. But in the half second before I typed those letters, another feeling got there first. It wasn't happiness for them, it was unease. A small, sour voice asking, "And what exactly am I doing with my life?" I felt a little ashamed of that, as if I'd just failed some basic test of being a decent person, the kind who can be glad for a friend without making it about himself. But that half second is where tonight's story begins. If you know that half second, if you felt the unease arrive a beat before the goodwill, then stay with me. Because here's the first thing I want to say. That half second doesn't mean you're small. It means something was built into you long before you were born. We usually read that unease one way. I feel it because I'm behind, because I haven't made it yet, because I have some petty habit of measuring myself against everyone else, and I just can't seem to break it. But one writer offers almost the opposite diagnosis. The cause of that anxiety, he says, isn't what you lack. The cause is equality. Not equality in the sense of everyone being the same, but the promise underneath it, that anyone can rise. In a world that tells you the top is open to all, failing to reach it stops being your circumstance and starts being your fault. So here's where we're going tonight. I want to show you why one of the richest generations in history is also one of the most anxious. To do that, we'll meet the person who drew this trap most clearly, lay a 60-year map from psychology over the top of it, and end with one small question you can actually ask yourself before you fall asleep. The writer is Alain de Botton, a British author known for making difficult philosophy feel like a conversation. In 2004, he published a book called Status Anxiety, and that title is exactly our subject tonight. What he means by it is this: the quiet worry that you're standing too low on society's ladder, or that you're about to slip a rung lower. De Botton asks a sharp question. Our ancestors had far less than we do, so why is this particular anxiety worse now and not then? His answer goes like this. In the old world, the one where your rank was fixed at birth, a low place carried no shame. If you were born a serf, you would be a serf, and your position was not your doing. The world was simply arranged that way. Cold comfort maybe, but it wasn't humiliation. Then the world changed. No more fixed ranks, we said. Anyone can rise if they work for it. And with that promise, call it equal opportunity, call it meritocracy, something strange happened. A moral tag got pinned to the bottom rungs. Think it through. If everyone truly got a fair chance and you still didn't rise, then whose fault is that? You can't blame the world anymore. The only one left to blame is you. There must be something lacking in you. That sentence started following people around at the bottom. De Botton puts it with surgical precision. A meritocracy, he says, adds the insult of shame to the injury of poverty. So what we inherited wasn't only equal opportunity, it was a brand new kind of shame, waiting for us the moment we fell short. But where does this comparing instinct even come from? The one that turns a promise of equality into private shame. Someone had already dug beneath that exact question, centuries earlier. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the 18th century philosopher. Rousseau split our self-regard into two kinds. The first is the love of simply keeping yourself alive. He called it amour de soi. Nothing complicated. You're hungry, so you eat. You're cold, so you find warmth. It's the natural care you have for yourself, and there's no room in it for anyone else. The trouble is the second kind, the self-regard that only exists by comparison. He called that amour-propre, the comparing kind. It's the hunger to be seen well by others. And here's the part Rousseau saw so clearly. This hunger is never satisfied by mere recognition. It needs to be recognized as above others. And once it takes hold, he warned, you begin to borrow your whole sense of who you are from the eyes of other people. Whether you're worth anything at all, that verdict now comes from outside. That half second before the congratulations last night, that was this second self talking. which tells us something important. Comparison isn't some fixed piece of human nature. It's a second feeling, one that social life, living pressed up against other people, planted in us. So who exactly are we comparing ourselves to? De Botton's answer stings. He wrote that we envy only those we feel ourselves to be like. We envy only members of our own reference group, the people we quietly believe resemble us. And it's true, isn't it? We don't lie awake burning with envy of the richest person alive. What actually scrapes at us is the old classmate who started where we started, the colleague one desk over, the person who set out around the same time we did. The more like us they feel, the more their one step ahead hurts. The person whose news stopped my thumb last night was, of course, someone who'd started from about where I did. Now, if this only held inside a philosopher's head, it wouldn't be worth much. The real question is whether living people actually move this way. And as it happens, someone spent a very long time watching for exactly that. In 2018, a team of psychologists led by Jonathan Gerber gathered up more than 60 years of research on social comparison and analyzed it all together. That kind of study is called a meta-analysis. Instead of trusting one experiment, you pool decades of them to see the larger shape. Two things came into focus. First, who do we choose to compare ourselves with? You'd think, sensibly, that when we're low, we look at people worse off and think, well, at least I'm not them. But the data went the other way. Even when nothing was threatening them, people reached by default for those above, the ones doing better. Our eyes are built to look up. Second, and when we look up, what happens? You might hope we'd feel lifted, thinking, maybe I could get there too. But mostly, it ran the opposite direction. The moment we set ourselves beside someone better, our own self-assessment dropped. And the part that took the biggest hit was our sense of how capable we are. Put it together and it comes to this. By default, we look upward, and each time we look, we shave a little off ourselves. 60 years of studies gathered up drew that picture. The map de Botton sketched in words, psychology redrew in numbers. It's a quietly bleak little finding once it lands. So, would having more finally fix it? Here a formula from William James, the founder of American psychology, lands with a chill more than a century later. He wrote, "Self-esteem as a kind of fraction, your successes divided by your expectations." So picture it. You can keep piling up successes, but if your expectations climb right alongside them, the two just move together, and your sense of worth doesn't rise at all. And the more we gain, the more our expectations balloon. That's how the account grows fatter, while the heart feels more pinched. By now this is starting to feel a little airless. Comparison was planted in us, the eyes keep drifting upward, and every gain just inflates what we expect. So is there any move left at all? There is. Exactly one. It isn't about ending comparison. That was never on the table. Rousseau already told us. It comes with living among other people. It doesn't switch off. So the goal isn't to kill it. It's to change one thing. Who you set yourself beside. Remember that reference group. We only envy those we feel we resemble. It sounds like a wound, but turn it over and it's a key. Because who you stand next to is, at least partly, something you get to choose. James's formula has a door in it too. It looks like despair, but look again. The bottom of the fraction, your expectations, is yours to set. And James wrote something else worth holding. We aren't made miserable by failing at everything. We're made miserable only when we fall short at the one thing we've staked our whole pride on. So the question quietly changes. Where have I staked my pride? People really do say this. The happiest stretch of their life, they'll tell you, was back when they were making almost nothing, working some ordinary job. At first it sounds like nostalgia gilding the past. But follow tonight's thread, and it isn't a joke. Having more can itself be a condition for greater unease. So here's the one thing I gently suggest trying tonight. Nothing grand. In a little while, out of habit, you'll open your phone. Just before your thumb touches the glass, you might ask yourself one question. Am I here for information, or am I here for comparison? If it's an information night, go ahead, scroll in peace. But if tonight is unmistakably a comparison night, then hold on to just one thing. Whatever you're about to scroll through is choosing your reference group for the evening. Who you set yourself beside, for that half second at least, it's yours to pick. I know this isn't easy to do. I failed at it myself last night, but holding that question in your hand instead of not turns out to make more difference than you'd think. Let's go back to that bed last night, the half second of unease, right before the congratulations. Maybe it looks a little different now. It wasn't proof that you're small. It was a feeling planted quietly inside all of us the moment someone, centuries ago, announced that now anyone can rise. Not your flaw, the pattern of the age you happened to inherit. Knowing that won't make the unease vanish tomorrow night. It'll catch me again too. But maybe that half second can become something other than a moment for blaming yourself. A moment instead for noticing who you're standing next to. And I think I can live with that trade. Let me leave you with a line from Alain de Botton, his own words. I'll close on it. We envy only those whom we feel ourselves to be like. We envy only members of our reference group. Thank you for walking this far with me.
Am I here to look or here to measure? One quick question before the glass lights up. Who I stand beside tonight? That much, at least, is mine to call. Half awake, thumbing through the dark. An old friend's good news stops my hand. And half a second before congrats, something sour gets there.